My name is Cole, but most people just call me Grandpa. I'm 69 years old, and on what should have been the most familiar night of the year, Christmas Eve, I was quietly written out of my own family. My son didn't raise his voice. He didn't argue. He just said it plainly. Christmas is for my new family now. No invitation, no explanation. Just a polite sentence that erased decades. I nodded. I smiled. I even wished him a Merry Christmas. What he didn't see was the moment something shifted inside me. Not anger, not sadness, clarity. Because when someone tells you that you're no longer part of the celebration, they're also telling you you're no longer responsible for protecting them. I'm going to tell you what happened next. How being excluded from one Christmas unlocked a decision that followed him straight into the new year. But before I begin, let me ask you, where are you watching from today? To everyone who's been quietly replaced and expected to accept it, thank you for being here. And if this is your first time on the channel, subscribe and turn on notifications. This is where overlooked people stop explaining themselves. Now, let me tell you how I gave my son exactly what he asked for. The phone rang at 6:47 p.m. on December 3rd. I was standing in my kitchen, stirring pasta sauce, the kind my late wife Evelyn used to make from scratch. I still follow her recipe. Crush the tomatoes by hand. Let the garlic brown just enough. It takes 2 hours, but I had nothing but time that evening. When I saw Dylan's name on the screen, I smiled. My son doesn't call often anymore. Once a month, maybe. Quick check-ins. How are you, Dad? Everything good? The conversations last maybe 5 minutes, but I always answer. Always smile into the phone like he can see me. Dylan, I said warmly, good to hear from you. There was a pause, just a beat too long. Hey, Dad. His voice had that tone, the one people use when they've rehearsed something. Got a minute? For you, always. I turned down the burner and leaned against the counter, still holding the wooden spoon. There was red sauce on my fingers. So, Camilla and I have been talking, he started. Camilla, his wife, I should have known. We've been thinking about Christmas this year, and with the kids getting older and her parents flying in from Arizona, the house is going to be pretty packed. I didn't say anything. I just listened to my son tap dance around what he was really calling to say. We're doing a smaller thing this year, just the immediate family. Camilla's parents, her sister Madison, the kids. You know how it is. I see, I said quietly. It's nothing personal, Dad. It's just space. And with everything going on, we thought it'd be easier to keep it simple. Simple. That word hung in the air between us like smoke. I looked around my kitchen. At the 6-burner stove I barely use anymore. At the dining table that seats 8. At the cabinet where I'd already wrapped presents for Gabriel and Zoe, my grandkids. A remote control car for him. A dollhouse for her. I'd spent 3 weeks picking them out. Dylan, I said slowly, are you telling me there's no room for me at Christmas? Another pause. Dad, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Don't make this harder? I wanted to laugh, or scream, or ask him if he remembered the Christmases after his mother died, when it was just the 2 of us, and I cooked a turkey even though I had no idea what I was doing, because I didn't want him to feel like we'd lost everything. But I didn't say any of that. Instead, I said, I understand, son. You do what's best for your family. Thanks, Dad. I knew you'd get it. He sounded relieved, like I'd just given him permission. We'll catch up after the holidays, he added. Maybe New Year's. We'll do something then. Sure, I said. Merry Christmas, Dylan. Merry Christmas, Dad. He hung up. I stood there in my kitchen, still holding the spoon, staring at the phone in my hand. And that's when I saw it. Sitting on the counter, just beneath a stack of mail, was the folder. The one my lawyer Anthony had given me 2 weeks earlier. Cream-colored, embossed with his firm's name. Estate planning documents. I'd been meaning to go over them with Dylan. That was the plan. Sit down after Christmas dinner. talk about the future, make sure he understood what I'd set up for him and the kids. I'm 69 years old. I'm healthy, but I'm not naive. These conversations need to happen. Inside that folder was everything. The deed to this house, paid off, worth nearly $900,000. My retirement accounts, $1.4 million, carefully managed over 40 years of work as an aerospace engineer. Life insurance, $500,000. All of it listing Dylan as the primary beneficiary. I picked up the folder. My hands weren't shaking yet. I opened it and stared at the highlighted sections. The parts Anthony wanted me to review. The signature lines at the bottom of each page. Unsigned. I hadn't finalized anything yet. And as I stood there, alone in my kitchen on a Tuesday night in December, with pasta sauce simmering on the stove and my son's voice still echoing in my head, Christmas is for my new family now. Something inside me shifted. Not rage, not heartbreak. Clarity. Cold, quiet clarity. I set the folder down carefully, turned off the stove, dumped the pasta sauce into the sink and watched it swirl down the drain in slow red spirals. Then I sat down at my kitchen table and did something I hadn't done in a very long time. I made a plan. Because here's what Dylan didn't understand. When you tell someone they're not part of the family anymore, you're also telling them they're not responsible for taking care of that family. And I was about to give my son exactly what he asked for. For 3 days, I didn't call Dylan. I didn't text. I didn't react. And that, I think, is what unsettled him most. Because Dylan knows me. He knows I'm the kind of father who calls back within an hour, who texts, "Love you, son," after every conversation, who shows up when I'm invited, and sometimes even when I'm not. But this time, I went silent. And in that silence, I started digging. Not in the dirt, not in old wounds. In paperwork. I spent those 3 days in my garage, going through boxes I hadn't opened in years. Tax returns, bank statements, receipts, legal documents, the archaeological layers of a man's financial life, stacked in plastic bins and labeled in my late wife's handwriting. I found the first loan agreement on day 2, December 2019. Dylan had come to me with an opportunity. He was starting a consulting business, something about helping small companies optimize their logistics. He needed seed money, $50,000. He'd pay me back within 2 years, he said, with interest. I wrote the check the same day. I found the promissory note in a folder marked Dylan Business, signed by both of us, notarized, 0 payments made. Then I found the next one, June 2021, the down payment for his house. Dylan and Camilla had been renting, and the market was insane. If they didn't move fast, they'd miss their chance. He needed $125,000. I pulled it from my retirement account, paid the early withdrawal penalty, and handed it over. He said he'd pay me back when they refinanced. I found the paperwork. Another promissory note. 0 payments made. There were others, smaller ones. $8,000 for Camilla's car after hers broke down. $15,000 when Gabriel was born and they needed to renovate the nursery. $3,500 here. $6,200 there. I wasn't keeping score until now. By the time I finished, I had a number, $214,700. That's how much my son owed me. Not in some vague, emotional sense, in actual, documented debt. I sat on the concrete floor of my garage, surrounded by boxes, and I did something I'm not proud of. I laughed. It was a bitter, ugly sound, the kind of laugh that doesn't have any joy in it. Because here's what I realized. Dylan didn't just exclude me from Christmas. He excluded me while still expecting me to be his safety net, his fallback, his blank check. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through our text messages from the past 2 years. Most of them were from me. Thinking of you, hope you're well. Can I take Gabriel to the Science Museum this weekend? Zoe's birthday is coming up. What should I get her? His responses were polite, brief. Thanks, Dad. Maybe next month. Surprise us. But then I found the other messages, the ones where Dylan reached out first. Dad, weird question. Do you still have that connection at the credit union? Hey, Camilla's parents are helping with the kids' college fund. We're setting up 529s. You still planning to contribute? Random thought. What happens to the house when you're gone? Just want to make sure we have things documented. That last one was from 6 months ago. I stared at it until my eyes burned. The house. My house. The one Evelyn and I bought in 1983. The one where we raised Dylan after the divorce from my first marriage left me with nothing but a chance to start over. The one where Evelyn died in the upstairs bedroom, holding my hand, whispering, "Take care of our boy." Dylan wanted to make sure it was documented. I put the phone down. Then I picked up the folder Anthony had given me. Inside were the estate planning documents I'd been reviewing. Anthony is a sharp lawyer, borderline ruthless when he needs to be. We've worked together for 15 years. He'd laid everything out cleanly. Primary beneficiary for everything, Dylan. Secondary beneficiaries, my other 2 children from my first marriage, Christopher and Madison. They'd get token amounts, $25,000 each. We're not close. Haven't been since the divorce 30 years ago when their mother poisoned them against me. But Dylan got it all. The house, the retirement funds, the life insurance, the investment accounts. Estimated total, $2.3 million. And at the bottom of every document, in sections highlighted in yellow, were the signature lines. Blank. I hadn't signed anything yet. Anthony had been urging me to finalize it for weeks. "Cole, you're 69. This needs to be locked in. If something happens and these aren't executed, the state decides what happens to your estate." But I'd kept putting it off. Some instinct I couldn't name. Now I knew why. I picked up my phone and called Anthony. He answered on the second ring. "Cole, good to hear from you. You ready to sign?" "Not exactly," I said. There was a pause. "What's going on?" "Dylan called me 3 days ago. Told me there's no room for me at Christmas this year." Silence on the other end. Then, "I see." "Anthony, I need to know something. If I wanted to make changes to the estate plan, substantial changes, how long would that take?" "Depends on the changes. What are you thinking?" I looked around my garage, at the boxes, at the documents spread across the floor, at the life I'd built, brick by brick, dollar by dollar. "I'm thinking," I said slowly, "that I want to set up a trust. For my grandchildren. Education only. Managed by an independent trustee. Not their parents." "That's reasonable," Anthony said. "What else?" "The house. I want to leave it to charity. Habitat for Humanity, maybe." I could hear Anthony breathing. "Cole." "And the rest? The retirement accounts, the life insurance, the investments. I want to split them 3 ways. Christopher, Madison, and a scholarship fund in Evelyn's name. For single fathers putting their kids through college." The silence stretched out so long I thought the call had dropped. "Cole," Anthony said finally, his voice careful. "Are you cutting Dylan out entirely?" "No," I said. "I'm giving him exactly what he wants. He said Christmas is for his new family, so I'm letting him have his new family. Without me. Without my money. Without the safety net he's been standing on for 30 years while pretending he built everything himself." Anthony exhaled. "This is..." "Cole, are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." "Okay," he said. "Come to my office Monday morning. We'll draft everything." I hung up, and for the first time in 3 days, I felt something other than hurt. I felt powerful. That Monday morning, I walked into Anthony's office with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. But what I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that the changes I was about to make would set off a chain reaction that would reach far beyond a Christmas dinner. Subscribe right now because next chapter is where Dylan starts to realize something is wrong, and where I send him a message that will haunt him for weeks. Smash that like button if you're on my side so far, and comment below, am I going too far, or is this exactly what he deserves? Let's see where you stand. Turn on notifications because this story is just getting started, and trust me, you haven't seen anything yet." Anthony's office smelled like leather and old books. We spent 4 hours that Monday going through everything. He took notes in his precise handwriting while I spoke. When I finished, he looked at me over his reading glasses. "Cole, I have to ask, is this about punishment or protection?" I thought about that. "Both." He nodded slowly. "Then let's make sure it's airtight." We restructured everything. The trust for Gabriel and Zoe, $400,000, locked until they turned 18, managed by a bank trustee. Education only. Dylan and Camilla couldn't touch a dime. The house to Habitat for Humanity. The remainder split 3 ways: Christopher, Madison, and the Evelyn Cole Memorial Scholarship Fund for single fathers. Dylan's portion, 0. "When do you want this executed?" Anthony asked. "Not yet," I said. "I want him to know it's coming, but I don't want him to know when." Anthony raised an eyebrow. "You want him to sit with it?" "I want him to understand what he threw away." Anthony slid a business card across his desk. "Estate planning therapist. She specializes in family wealth transitions. If you're doing this, do it with your eyes open." I pocketed the card but didn't call her. I knew exactly what I was doing. That evening, I went to the store and bought a Christmas card. Nothing fancy, just a winter landscape. Snow-covered pines, a frozen lake, the kind of card that says nothing and everything. Inside, I wrote 4 sentences. I revised them 6 times until they were perfect. "Dylan, I respect your decision about Christmas. I want you to know I've been making some decisions of my own, about my future, my legacy, and what family really means. I hope your Christmas is everything you wanted. With love always, Dad." I read it out loud twice. The word legacy would eat at him. He'd know. He'd know exactly what I was talking about. I mailed it on December 10th. Then I waited. The first call came 4 hours later. I was reading in my living room when my phone lit up. Dylan's name. I watched it ring, watched it go to voicemail. 3 minutes later, he called again. I let that one go too. By 9 p.m., I had 5 missed calls. I poured myself 2 fingers of bourbon, Evelyn's favorite, the bottle I only open on special occasions, and sat in my recliner in the dark. My phone glowed on the side table like a tiny accusation. Call number 6 came at 10:30 p.m. This time, there was a voicemail. "Dad, got your card. Just wanted to talk. Give me a call when you get this." His voice was tight, uncertain. Good. The next day, I went to my weekly volunteer shift at Gabriel's elementary school. I've been doing reading circles there for 2 years, every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 a.m. to noon. The kids call me Mr. Cole. Some call me Grandpa Jerry, which always makes me smile. Gabriel used to light up when he saw me, but 2 months ago, I stopped seeing him in the reading circle. I asked his teacher, Mrs. Patterson, a kind woman in her 50s with graying hair and bright eyes, where he'd gone. She'd looked uncomfortable. "Gabriel's parents requested he be moved to a different activity during your volunteer hours." "Why?" She hesitated. "Mr. Cole, I probably shouldn't." "Please," she sighed. "They met with the principal in October. They asked that you be removed from the approved pickup list, and they requested that we not inform you of school events anymore. Family concerts, field trips, parent days." The words hit me like a fist. "Did they say why?" "They said you were overstepping boundaries." I stood there in the hallway outside the first-grade classroom, surrounded by construction paper turkeys and handprint art, and felt something crack inside my chest. "Did Gabriel know?" I asked quietly. Mrs. Patterson's eyes softened. "He asked where you went, for 2 weeks straight." "When is Grandpa Jerry coming back?" I told him you were busy. "Thank you," I managed. "Mr. Cole," she said, "what they did was cruel. Not just to you, to that little boy." That night, Dylan called 4 more times. On the 5th call, I answered. "Dad, finally. I've been trying to reach you for 2 days. I've been busy, I said calmly. Your card. What did you mean about decisions? Just what I said. I've been doing some planning. What kind of planning? I took a slow breath. Estate planning, mostly. Anthony's been helping me update some things. Silence. Dad, is this because of Christmas? No, Dylan. This is because I'm 69 years old and it's time to get my affairs in order. But your card made it sound like what? He didn't answer. Dylan, I'm not angry. I'm just being realistic about my future and about what family means. You said Christmas is for your new family. I respect that. I'm simply adjusting my own plans accordingly. Dad, you're scaring me. There's nothing to be scared of. You'll be fine. You have your new family. Your wife's parents. You don't need me. Dad, that's not what I meant. Isn't it? The line went quiet except for his breathing. We should talk about this in person, he said finally. Maybe after the holidays, I replied. You're busy with your new family. I wouldn't want to intrude. I hung up before he could respond, and then I did something I hadn't done in years. I went upstairs to the bedroom where Evelyn died, opened her closet, and pulled out the box of letters she'd kept. Inside were cards from Dylan, dozens of them. Mother's Day cards he'd made in elementary school, birthday cards from high school, a Father's Day card from the year after she died that said, Dad, thanks for being Mom and Dad both. I love you. I sat on the floor and read every single one. By the time I finished, it was past midnight. My phone had 11 missed calls, 7 from Dylan, 4 from a number I didn't recognize. I checked the voicemail from the unknown number. Mr. Cole, this is Camilla, Dylan's wife. I think we need to talk. Please call me back. I deleted it. Then I went downstairs, poured another bourbon, and waited for Christmas. Christmas morning arrived cold and silent. No snow, just gray skies and frozen ground. I woke at 6 a.m., same as always. Made coffee, sat at my kitchen table and stared at the 2 wrapped presents I'd never send. The remote control car for Gabriel, the dollhouse for Zoe. I'd leave them in my closet, maybe forever. At 9 a.m., I made myself scrambled eggs and toast, turned on the television. Some black and white movie about a man who gets to see what the world would be like if he'd never been born. I turned it off. At 10:47 a.m., my phone rang. Dylan. I let it ring 3 times. Then I answered. Merry Christmas, Dad. His voice sounded strained, like he'd been up all night. Merry Christmas, son. Silence. Then, look, Camilla and I talked. We overreacted. If you want to come by later, around 3 o'clock, we'd love to have you. I closed my eyes. Part of me, the part that still remembered reading him bedtime stories, teaching him to ride a bike, holding him when his mother died, wanted to say yes, wanted to grab my coat and drive over there and pretend none of this had happened. But the other part of me, the part that had spent 2 weeks going through boxes in my garage, the part that knew about the school pickup list and the $214,000 in unpaid loans, that part stayed quiet and cold. That's kind of you, I said, but I have plans. Plans? His voice cracked slightly. With who? Friends from the senior center. We're doing a potluck. It was a lie. I was spending Christmas alone, but he didn't need to know that. Dad, please, I know what this is about. Your card, the calls you haven't returned. I get it. I screwed up. But it's Christmas. I know what day it is. Then come over. The kids are asking about you. Gabriel wanted to call you this morning, but Camilla thought what? He didn't answer. Dylan, I said quietly, let me ask you something. When you called me 2 weeks ago and told me there was no room at the table, did you mean it? Dad, it wasn't like that. Then what was it like? It was complicated. Camilla's family is here, and the kids are getting older, and we're trying to establish our own traditions. Without me. That's not fair, isn't it? I could hear him breathing. Could picture him standing in his kitchen, probably looking at the dining table set for 12, with Camilla's parents laughing in the living room and Gabriel playing with new toys. "Dad, your card," he said finally. "What you said about decisions and legacy. What did you mean?" And there it was. The real reason for the call. Not reconciliation. Not love. Fear. I meant exactly what I said. I've been updating my estate plan. And I've made some changes. What kind of changes? I stood up from my kitchen table and walked to the window. Looked out at my neighbor's house where their grandkids were building a snowman in the yard. A little girl in a pink coat was laughing. "I've set up a trust," I said, "for Gabriel and Zoe. $400,000. Education only. College, grad school, trade programs, whatever they need. It'll be managed by an independent trustee. Not you, not Camila. The kids can access it when they turn 18. That's incredibly generous, Dad. I'm not finished." Silence. "The house, this house. I'm leaving it to charity, Habitat for Humanity. When I'm gone, they'll sell it and use the proceeds to build homes for families in need." "What?" His voice went sharp. "Dad, that's our family home. That's where Mom died. Yes, in the upstairs bedroom. I was holding her hand. You were at work." The words came out harsher than I intended, but I didn't take them back. "And the rest?" he asked quietly. "The retirement accounts? The life insurance? Split 3 ways. Christopher gets a third. Madison gets a third. And the final third goes to a scholarship fund I'm establishing in your mother's name, for single fathers putting their kids through college." I could hear him trying to process this. "So, I get nothing?" "You get exactly what you asked for, Dylan. Independence, your own family, your own traditions. Freedom from an overbearing father who was apparently overstepping boundaries." "Who told you that? Does it matter?" His breathing was ragged now. "Dad, this is insane. You're cutting me out of everything because of one Christmas dinner?" "No." My voice was steel. "I'm cutting you out because for 2 years you've been erasing me from your life while keeping your hand out for money. You borrowed $214,000 from me, Dylan. Not a dime repaid. You banned me from your son's school. You stopped inviting me to birthdays, to recitals, to family dinners. You slowly, carefully pushed me out while making sure I was still available to fund your life. That's not... You wanted me gone, son. Just not gone enough to lose the inheritance. So I'm making it simple. You get your freedom. I get mine. Dad, please. Merry Christmas, Dylan." I hung up. My hand was shaking so badly I had to set the phone down on the counter. I stood there in my kitchen, alone, on Christmas morning, and waited to feel something. Triumph, satisfaction, relief. Instead, I just felt hollow. At 2:30 p.m., someone knocked on my door. I wasn't expecting anyone. I looked through the peephole and froze. It wasn't Dylan. It was Christopher, my eldest son, the one I hadn't seen in 7 years. He was standing on my porch in the snow, hands in his pockets, looking older than I remembered. Gray in his beard, lines around his eyes. I opened the door slowly. "Christopher." "Hey, Dad." His voice was careful. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. He walked into my living room and looked around. At the photos on the walls, mostly Dylan, Gabriel, Zoe, a few of Evelyn, none of him or Madison. He didn't comment on it. "Dylan called me," he said finally. He's a mess." "Good." Christopher turned to look at me. "Is it? Is this really what you want?" "What I want," I said, my voice shaking, "is for my son to love me without a price tag attached. What I want is to be invited to Christmas without having to wonder if I'm a burden. What I want is to see my grandchildren without being treated like I'm dangerous." "I know," Christopher said quietly. "Do you? Do you really? Because you cut me out of your life 30 years ago and never looked back." His face went pale. "Dad. So forgive me if I don't take relationship advice from someone who hasn't spoken to me in 7 years." We stood there in my living room. Two men who used to be family staring at each other across decades of silence. And then Christopher said something I never expected. "I found the letters." "What letters?" I asked. Christopher reached into his jacket and pulled out his phone. His hands were shaking slightly. "Last month I was cleaning out Mom's house. She's in assisted living now. Dementia. You probably didn't know that." I didn't. I hadn't spoken to my ex-wife in 28 years. "I was going through her closet," Christopher continued, "and I found a box, shoebox, filled with envelopes." He tapped his phone and held it out to me. On the screen was a photo of a birthday card, handmade, construction paper and crayon drawings, a stick figure labeled Dad, holding hands with a smaller stick figure labeled Christopher. My handwriting on the inside, "Happy 9th birthday, buddy. I'm so proud of you. Love, Dad." I stared at it. "I never got this card," Christopher said quietly. "You sent it to Mom's house in 1993. She kept it. Never gave it to me." He swiped to the next photo. Another card. Another letter. Then another. Dozens of them. Birthday cards. Christmas cards. Letters I'd written from business trips. "Christopher, I miss you. I'm thinking about you. I can't wait to see you this weekend." All of them returned to sender or never delivered. All of them hidden in a box in his mother's closet for 30 years. "There are 47 in total," Christopher said. "Cards, letters, postcards, all from you, all addressed to me in Madison. We never got a single one." My legs went weak. I sat down heavily on the couch. "She told us you didn't care," Christopher said, his voice cracking, "that you chose work over us, that the only reason you called was because the court made you. She said you were relieved when we stopped wanting to visit." "That's not true." The words barely came out. "I fought for custody. I called every week. I drove 6 hours round trip every other weekend to see you. I showed up to every soccer game I was allowed to attend." "I know that now," Christopher said, "but I didn't know it then. And by the time I was old enough to think for myself, I'd already decided you were the enemy." He sat down across from me, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. "I'm not here to apologize," he said. "I mean, I am. I'm sorry. But that's not why I flew out here on Christmas. I came because Dylan called me panicking, saying you were cutting him out of everything. And all I could think was, you're doing to him what Mom did to us." I looked up sharply. "That's not the same." "Isn't it? Dylan had me. Every day, every birthday, every milestone, I was there, and he chose to push me out. And we pushed you out too," Christopher said, "because someone poisoned us against you, just like someone's been poisoning Dylan." I went still. "Camilla?" I asked. Christopher nodded. "Dylan told me some things on the phone, how she's been in his ear for 2 years, how you're controlling, how you use money to manipulate, how he needs to establish boundaries before you take over his whole life." I know you didn't. But Dad, think about it. You paid for his house, his business, his car, his kids, everything. And every time you did, you probably asked questions. "How's the business going? Are you managing the money okay? Do you need help with anything else?" I had asked those questions. "To you, that was being a good father," Christopher said. "To Camilla, that was control. And she's been twisting it in his head until he can't tell the difference between your love and a cage." I sat there, staring at the photos on Christopher's phone. 47 letters, 30 years of silence, all because someone told a lie often enough that it became truth. "So what do I do?" I asked quietly. Christopher looked at me. "You tell him the truth, and you give him a choice, because cutting him off completely, that doesn't fix anything. It just passes the poison to the next generation. He doesn't deserve my money. Maybe not, but your grandkids deserve their grandfather, and Dylan deserves a chance to see what he's about to lose before it's gone forever." I thought about Gabriel asking where Grandpa Jerry went. I thought about the dollhouse sitting in my closet. What if he chooses Camilla? I asked. What if he picks her over me? Then at least you'll know you tried. Christopher stood up. And at least you won't become what Mom became. Bitter, alone, holding on to grudges until there's nothing left but a box of letters nobody ever read. He walked to the door, then paused. For what it's worth, he said, Madison and I would like to try again. If you're willing. We lost 30 years. I don't want to lose the rest. After he left, I sat in my living room until the sun set. Then I picked up my phone and made a call. Not to Dylan, to Camilla. That phone call with Camilla lasted 47 minutes. What she told me changed everything I thought I knew about my son's marriage, and about myself. You need to subscribe right now because the next chapter is the ending you won't see coming. This isn't about revenge anymore. It's about something much harder. The truth. Hit that like button if this story has moved you. Drop A in the comments if you believe people deserve second chances, or A if you think I should have stayed the course. Turn on those notifications because the final chapter reveals what I decided to do with the estate, what happened when Dylan and I finally sat face to face, and whether this family survives or shatters. Don't miss this ending. It's going to stay with you. Camilla answered on the third ring. Mr. Cole? We need to talk, I said. Just you and me. She came alone the next morning. Dylan didn't know. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd read her husband's voicemail 2 weeks earlier, the same table where I'd made the decision to cut him out. Why do you hate me? I asked. She didn't flinch. I don't hate you. Then why erase me from my grandchildren's lives? She looked down at her hands. Because you made him feel small. The words hit like a slap. Every decision we made, she continued, Dylan would second-guess himself. What would Dad think? Dad always said to do it this way. Dad paid for this, so maybe we should ask him first. He couldn't breathe without checking if you'd approve. I was trying to help. I know, but your help came with strings. Maybe you didn't mean it that way, but every time you wrote a check, Dylan felt like he owed you. Like he could never measure up. Like he'd always be your project. I opened my mouth to argue, then closed it, because she wasn't entirely wrong. I built his life, I said quietly, because I wanted him to have what I didn't. Security, options, freedom. But he never felt free, Camilla said. He felt owned. The silence stretched between us. So you told him to cut me out, I said. I told him to set boundaries. He's the one who took it nuclear. She looked up, and I saw tears in her eyes. And now Gabriel cries about you. He drew you a picture at school, a turkey holding your hand. It's still on our fridge. She pulled out her phone and showed me. A child's drawing. Wobbly letters. Grandpa Jerry, I miss you. Something broke inside me. I was wrong, Camilla whispered. I thought I was protecting Dylan from your control. But I was really just jealous. Jealous that his kids loved you more than they loved my parents. Jealous that you were everything my father never was. And I turned that jealousy into a weapon and aimed it at my husband until he believed you were the problem. She was crying now. Really crying. I'm so sorry, she said. I took your son from you because I couldn't handle how much he loved you. I sat there across from the woman who'd orchestrated my exile, and I made a choice. I need you to understand something, I said. What Dylan did, what you both did, hurt me more than anything since Evelyn died. You didn't just exclude me from Christmas. You erased me. From schools, from birthdays, from my grandchildren's lives, while expecting me to keep funding everything. She nodded, unable to speak. But Christopher showed me something yesterday. He showed me what happens when you hold on to rage until there's nothing left but ghosts. I stood up and walked to the counter, picked up the folder from Anthony's office. I'm not signing this, I said. Not yet. Her eyes went wide. But I'm not going back to how things were either. If we do this, if we rebuild, it's going to be different. Okay, she whispered. Anything. 3 days later, Dylan came to my house. No phone call. He just showed up, standing in the cold, looking like he hadn't slept in a week. "Dad, come in." We sat in the same living room where Christopher had confronted me, where everything had started to shift. "I'm sorry," Dylan said, and his voice broke. "I'm so sorry. I thought I was being independent. I thought I was building my own life. But I was just being cruel." "Yes," I said simply. "You were." He flinched. "But your mother would tell me I'm being stubborn. That family is family. So here's what's going to happen." I pulled out the folder. "I'm not changing the trust for Gabriel and Zoe. That stays. $400,000 for their education. You don't touch it." He nodded. "But the rest, the house, the retirement accounts, the insurance, that's not decided yet." "Dad, I don't care about the money." "Yes, you do, and that's okay. But you're going to earn it back. Not with money, with time." I slid a piece of paper across the table. "Family therapy. You, me, and Camilla. Once a month. For 2 years. We talk about everything. The money, the control, the resentment, all of it. If you miss a session without a real emergency, you're out." Dylan stared at the paper. "And," I continued, "I go back on Gabriel's school list. I'm at birthdays, recitals, soccer games. Not because you owe me, because I'm their grandfather and they deserve to know me." "Yes," Dylan said immediately. "Yes, whatever you want." "I don't want obedience, son. I want honesty. I want you to tell me when I'm overstepping. I want you to say no when you need to. But I also want you to stop treating my love like a transaction." He was crying now. Full, gasping sobs. "I thought I was losing you," he choked out. "I thought I'd destroyed everything." "You almost did," I said, "but almost isn't the same as done." I pulled him into a hug, the first one in over a year, and I let myself cry too. It's March now. We've had 5 therapy sessions. 3 of them were brutal. Dylan screamed at me in the second one. I walked out of the third. But we keep showing up. Gabriel's back in my reading circle. Last week he brought me a drawing of the 2 of us building a rocket ship. "For when we go to space, Grandpa." Zoe calls me every Sunday on FaceTime. She shows me her dolls and tells me long, rambling stories that don't make sense but make me smile anyway. Christopher visited last month. We're planning a fishing trip this summer, the first one in 33 years. Madison sent me an email. "Dad, I don't know what's happening, but thank you for the inheritance note. Can we talk?" We're scheduled to call next week. The folder from Anthony is still on my desk, unsigned. I'm leaving it that way for now. Because here's what I learned. Revenge isn't about destruction. Sometimes it's about making people see what they're about to lose. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, they see it in time to catch it. Dylan doesn't ask about the estate anymore. Last week he said something that left me speechless. "Dad, even if you left everything to charity, I'd understand. Because you've already given me what matters. I just couldn't see it. I'm 69 years old. I don't know how many Christmases I have left. But this year, when December comes, there will be a seat at the table. And I'll be in it. Not because I demanded it, but because I was asked. So that's my story. The Christmas my son tried to erase me, and how I gave him exactly what he asked for until he understood what he was really losing. This wasn't about the money. It was never about the money. It was about dignity, about boundaries, about refusing to be invisible while still being expected to provide. Some of you think I went too far. Some think I didn't go far enough. And honestly, some days I don't know either. But I do know this. I'm not invisible anymore. My grandchildren know my name. My son looks me in the eye again. And I'm rebuilding bridges I thought were burned forever. If this story moved you, if it made you think about your own family, your own boundaries, your own worth, then subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that notification bell because I share real stories from real people every week. Stories about betrayal and redemption, about standing up and speaking out, about the quiet moments that change everything. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever been erased by someone you loved? How did you handle it? I read every single comment. Your stories matter. Like this video. If you believe that setting boundaries isn't cruelty, it's love in disguise. Share this with someone who needs to hear that they don't have to accept being invisible, that their value doesn't depend on what they can give, that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply stop showing up for people who don't show up for you. My name is Cole. I'm 69 years old, and I'm nobody's backup plan anymore. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next story.